Hello, this is Retro Running, and my name is Andy. Right, you join me again on a run around Coate Water, but deceptively, though it looks at the moment, I do actually have my camera positioned properly. I've just got my head down as I just bypass some people. Right, so this is my Tuesday run, which is now changed into my long run. But as you may know, if you watched last week's episode, I increasing my long run very, very slowly. So this is going to be about a 5.5 kilometre run. So I'm increasing by 0.5 kilometres every fortnight. So my long run next week will also be 5.5 kilometres, and I'll go up to 6.5, etc. So I'm running around Coate Water, which will be predominantly gravelly trail paths with a bit of mud, not much in the way of hills. There's one little short hill, and it's just a really nice place to run around. I really enjoy it. So I've had quite a good week since I last made a video in terms of my running. As I said in my last video, I was increasing my running schedule. I was adding a fourth run, only having one rest day, and moving things around a little, and as I'm doing here, running a slightly longer run. My plans for this run was to run around 6 minutes, because I think I can, at the current length of long runs, I think I can hold 6 minutes for them. I actually think I run a little bit quicker than that, but that wasn't particularly planned. It's just quite an easy, nice place to run around, really. There was quite a lot of wind, which you might hear on the video, but it never really was too long as a headwind. You always seem to be weaving in and out of it or running through trees. So it was a pretty good day to run on. Right, so since the last video, again, Saturday is my hard run, and that's going to stay the case. And last Saturday on my hard run, I ran one of my courses near to where I live, which is around a lake called Peatmore Lake. And it's although it's got a slight sort of draggy hill which can take your pace off, and back when I was still doing Couch to 5k and quite unfit, it could really tire me out quite a lot. It's actually quite a nice course, and probably the easiest course I ran on. And I had a silly idea the night before I did that run that I was going to try to run at about 5:35 pace. Now, if you imagine that my previous personal best was 28:51, 5:35 pace was a little bit quicker than that. But I had this idea just before I fell asleep, and then I woke up in the morning intent on completing it. So I headed out on that run, and I kind of settled into a 5:28 pace, a 5:29 pace, which is way above what I've done, but I felt relatively comfortable. And I thought, well, I'll carry on this pace until I hit that short little drag of a hill. And if I'm still feeling pretty good, I'll carry on. So I did. And I actually ran the whole 5k at 5:29 pace average, and had a new personal best of 27:29, which took a minute 20 off my previous personal best, which was a crazy thing. And although it was a tough run, Strava gave me a 33 relative effort. I don't know what they're talking about, but it was good. It was good, and I felt strong and able to keep the pace going all the way through. So pretty happy. And I was absolutely delighted by that, except that a couple of hours after, I sort of decided 27.5 wasn't that fast, and I needed to get down to 25. So it's how quick your achievements leave you, really, in running. But as I said last week, my aim is to get to a 25-minute 5k, which I think, which is good for my age. If you don't know, I'm 61, pretty injury prone over the years. So 25, I think, is a reasonable goal, and I'm already at 27.5. Admittedly, on the easiest 5k course that I run, but yeah, I still did it. So pretty delighted. The day after that, I ran my first easy run, and it was only 2.5k, and I ran it at about 6:29 pace, I think, which I think was a sensible pace, and I think it definitely worked for me, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed not having to push particularly hard, although I was running up another slight uphill, and somebody went past me, another runner went past me, and my competitiveness that, again, I said last week, I have no right to have, kind of was sparked, and I did speed up a little bit and kept behind him, but just kind of matched his pace and thought, yeah, I could run that, and then I eased back to what I should be running. But yeah, it was very enjoyable. And I just like that no pressure kind of run, and just taking it a little bit on feel, but making sure I wasn't running too much faster than 6:30 pace, which I didn't. And again, my easy run next week is again going to be 2.5k. I was planning to go straight up after that to 4k, but I think I might go 3.5 and then 4.5 and then 5. The aim is to get it to 5k easy run, which I will do. Yeah, so we're around the back of Coate Water now. It starts to get a bit muddier, as you would have seen on the previous bit. And I don't think this is a 5% uphill grade. I don't trust the grade gauge on this overlay. But I have synced this up as well as I can. And I'm running this bit at 6-minute 5k pace, and my heart rate's still only 131, but then it only really gets up to a mid to high 140s so far during my running, so I'm pretty comfortable at the moment. But as I said, yeah, a really nice weekend running, and then Monday I did my resistance training, which usually is my day off, and then on Tuesday I did this run, which obviously I'll talk about as we go around it. Today's Wednesday as I make this video, and I've just finished my resistance training. And as I put on Strava, I thought to myself, either I'm really missing the day off because my legs were quite sore, or just that extra 3k of running, which is half a k extra on this run, up from 5k, or the 2.5k on Sunday, is I'm really feeling it in my legs. My legs were quite sore when I did my resistance training today, which is making me think a little bit about what run I'm going to do tomorrow. The plan in my new schedule is to do intervals, and I have a session planned out, which is kind of a 1.8 to 2k warm-up run, and then 5 400-meter intervals at about 5k pace, 5-minute k pace, and then doing a sort of 1.3k warm-down run. That's kind of my plan, really. But I'm thinking with the way my legs feel, I'm thinking I might do something different tomorrow and just do another kind of moderate-esque run, which I think will involve, nice wave there, I think will involve just running quite slowly, maybe even definitely the higher side of 6-minute kilometers, and then maybe in the last 2k running a bit faster, and then just kind of start off slow and then speed up, but not really push things or have too many expectations, because this is my first week of increasing my training. I've also increased my resistance training last week, so in terms of overall training load, it's not a massive increase in the scheme of things, but I am very cautious, again, as I said last week. So I really enjoy running around Coate Water, as I said. 1.5k in, average pace of 5:50, so pretty good. Actually, that's my current pace, not my average. Lots of people walk their dogs, but Coate Water tends to be obviously a little bit quieter during the week than it is at weekends, so it's a good time to go and run round. And as I said, it's a really nice course to run on. Even though it's a bit muddier than the last time I ran it, it's still a nice soft trail to run on, really, without being particularly slippery. I am wearing trail shoes, which I do wear for, any glimpse of a trail path or mud on my running route. So that's how this week's training's gone. It's gone pretty good. I've had a bit of knee pain in my right knee after running, but that's kind of gone away quite quickly, and the next day no pain. My left knee's had a bit of pain during resistance training, but interestingly only on the first set. So I do a couple of sort of single leg raises and things, and I find on the first set of them I get a bit of pain. On the second set I don't know what that is. Maybe I need to warm up better, I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it's all going, and no kind of injury worries that are making me think I'm moving things too fast, because I'm not. Right, we're getting round the back of Coate Water proper now. We're running past what I think is still on one side it's kind of like a wildfowl reserve. It's the area of Coate Water Lake you're not allowed to fish if you go fishing. The main lake you can fish in, and there's some quite big carp in it, as well as a few other species, if you're interested in that. And we're just about to cross the bridge that divides them and then go up what is really the only hill on the course, although it's pretty short. It gets me a bit more out of breath, but that's more about my fitness than the difficulty of the hill. Again, yeah, it's a lovely scenic place to run, with a nice little, I guess, remotely off-road bit. And again, just lots of people strolling around, having a good time. Lots of bird watchers come up here, because there's, as well as the waterfowl that live on and around the lakes, there's also a lot of other birds that live in the trees and the little wooded areas around it too. So good place. As I think this chap on the left has a camera. This bloke seems to kind of manoeuvre his dog in my way there. I don't think he meant to, but thanks anyway. And this is that hill I was talking about. I think it gets up to about 9 or 10%, but it's pretty short. You can go left and sort of avoid it, but I feel that I should make an effort. This is something I talked about in my last thing, and something I need to kind of change. When I'm running up hills, I tend to just look down at the ground quite a lot, which spoils my posture, which again I think might interfere or cause the back pain that I get a lot of the time when I'm running. So I as I said last week, I've got to think about my pelvic tilt more when I'm running, especially up hills, and before my back starts to hurt. And interestingly, when I did my PB 5K on Saturday, although there wasn't that much in the way of hills, there was as much as there is on this course really, but they're a bit more gradual. I was very conscious of my pelvic tilt before I started to get back pain, and actually the back pain didn't really interfere with my running at all. On this, I was a bit more reactive on this run, and I did get a bit more back pain. So I do think that's the major cause really. And if I can work on my pelvic tilt, then I think I will generally have less back pain. But and also I think, you know, getting my glutes a bit stronger, activating my glutes better, and generally being a bit of a stronger runner, which I am working towards. We're heading very slowly round to the front of Coate Water again, and in about half a kilometre, a bit less, we'll have finished one loop. So what I found interesting about this run is obviously this is going to be a longer run, and I'm going to move this run up to sort of 10k. And although I'm aiming around running at a comfortable pace, but a pace that I'm working at, I'm kind of thinking in my head to make that about 6-minute kilometres. But I did kind of run often at about 6:40, 6:45, as you see here. Sorry, 5:40, 5:35, and as you see here, about 5:35 again. And it felt comfortable. So, and I didn't feel that I couldn't keep that effort up, although the pace changes. I didn't think for 1 minute I couldn't keep the effort up. And yeah, it was going well. It was going well at this point. It doesn't really go too badly at all throughout the run. But I think as the distances get longer, I think unless I have a real spurt of fitness, I think I'm going to keep it at around 6-minute kilometres. I think that's a good and sensible goal for me, and then maybe even go a bit slower as the distance starts to push up towards 10k. So yeah, it was nice, and I wasn't expecting this run to feel particularly long because it is only half a kilometre extra. It is just part of the process in getting up to sort of longer training. And I do think there's a certain phase of your training where you're training to meet your goals rather than training for your goals. So I'm really looking at training now that's building me up to do the kind of training I want to do to meet some of my goals. So yeah, as I say, it's all kind of a process. So I'm building up this longer run. I'm not expecting this run of 5.5k to particularly increase my stamina hugely, but it's all just as I say again, that slightly overused word, a process to get me where I want to go without making a risk of injuries, really. Yeah, and this is we're working to the front of Coate Water, and this will soon be the end of that first circuit. Now, as I've said, or I've put on the thumbnail, I'm going to be the first of Andy's weekly tips. So every week on every run that I show you, I'm going to give you a tip. Now, I can't say I'm super experienced as a runner or super experienced in sport. I'm just going to offer these tips, and feel free to ignore them as you see fit. So my first tip is this: avoid birds. No, that's not the answer, although you'll see these birds give me hassle in a minute. My first tip is, if you're doing any kind of sort of strength training, so weight training, core, bodyweight exercises, whatever they may be, a really good tip is if you're feeling that you want to move on and increase the weight or increase the number of reps you're doing, a really good tip is to focus on how you're performing the task, what your positioning's like, what your movement's like, and be really sure that you're performing that lift or that movement or whatever it is perfectly before you then move up. Because a lot of the time when you move up, you'll take any bad habits you've developed with you. And I think before you move up, do a couple of sessions where you're just focusing on getting that particular lift or exercise correct and perform correctly, and maybe revisit some videos of more experienced people where you've kind of learnt that exercise from, and just check, am I doing this correctly? And that's something I try and do. I can't say I always do that, but for a long time I think that's a really good tip, is just do that. And if you're still finding it's easy and you want to move up the weight, you'll be moving up the weight with how you complete that exercise as well as you can, as perfect as you can get it, before you then move up a weight. And again, I think that will help with you not injuring yourself when you do it, and it will also help with making sure you get the most out of that exercise. So that's my first weekly tip. Let me know if you think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea. I may run out of weekly tips. It might have to become monthly tips. As I said, I'm not an expert, but I thought I'd offer that one. Here's me being a bit of a chicken and dodging that puddle. If I was at Lydiard on the parkrun course, I'd run right through it, but I dodged it today because I didn't have to. As I say, a lot of people this time of day, predominantly dog walkers, but they were all pretty great dog walkers today. There's no dogs running around in groups getting in the way, and I think we all gave space for each other, which is a good thing. So yeah, I went on to the second loop of Coate, and as you can see, it's starting to get muddier, and we work through these trees, and this course is even better obviously in spring and summer when there's leaves on the trees and Coate's looking its best. But even now in autumn, I think it's a pretty good place to come and run. And although sometimes you can get a bit of a wind, especially around the path that takes you up from that hill and then back round the front, and on the front you can get a bit of a headwind or a crosswind. I was lucky today, it was mostly cross tail on that bit. You're pretty much sheltered around it, and you'll get a sort of gust of it every now and again, as you can hear on the recording. But it's a pretty good place to come and run. So what I was going to talk about my running, the future goals for my running for sort of the last couple of runs this week and then into next week. I'm going to do a park run again this week, but I'm not going to do Lydiard Park Run, which is my local one, the one I can walk to, I'm going to go and do the Seven Fields Park Run, which is another park run in Swindon. But it's kind of more towards the other side of Swindon, so I'll drive there and hope I can get a parking space. But a lot of that is just me practicing going to further afield park runs, really. I'm not really going there, even though Saturday is my give it a nudge day. I think after this week and the increases, it might be quite a gentle nudge. I'm certainly not going to try and break my personal best or anything, but we'll see what happens on the day, obviously. But I think it's a relatively flat course. I think, talking to my daughter, who's done marathon running and run a few park runs, it's not particularly easy to overtake because it's quite narrow, especially on the winter course. I think on the summer course, there's more fields and there's more space, but on the winter course, it's quite difficult, apparently. So that's my goal for Saturday, is go and run that. I want to go to some still relatively local park runs, but go and travel and do some more park runs. Then on Sunday, I'm going to do another easy run. Can't decide what to do. I might do the reverse of the circuit I did last Sunday. And then it's into planning for next week. So next week's 5.5k run is going to be, so this run that I'm doing here on the Tuesday, I think I'm going to do a run up what's called the old railway line in Swindon, which basically takes you uphill up to Old Town in Swindon from the base, really. And it's quite a long climb. It's only steep for about 30 meters, I think, and the rest of it is quite a gentle incline. But by the time, I think it takes about 2.7k to get to the top. So by the time you get there, it can hurt the legs, and then run back down it. And I think that should be about 5.5k. So I think that's a good option. I'll film that one. I think the weather's due to be quite rainy, but it'll be proper muddy up there as well. So that'll make it a little bit harder. But yeah, then run back down to the bottom. I have done that run, but not gone all the way to the top. Because I was sticking to 5k quite rigidly when I first did it. So I ran at 2.5 up, 2.5 down. So that's my plan for Tuesday. And then my interval training on the Thursday, I am hoping, if my legs feel better, to do that interval session that I was talking about, which is actually at Lydiard Park. So I run 1.8k to kind of where I start the intervals. Then there's a flattish circuit where it's basically around the cafe. That's lots of different road surfaces, but is actually pretty flat, or as flat as you can get a 400 meter loop around here. It's a bit longer than 400 meters, but I'm going to do 400 meter intervals, aim for them to be 5-minute pace with 2-minute walking or standing, depending on how I feel, in between, and then hit another 400 and do that 5 times. And then have a little jog for about 1 kilometre around Lydiard on some of the flatter stuff, and then do my usual warm down walk home. Right, as you can see here, as I'm running around back, my heart rate has got up a little bit. The pace is still doing well, still at 5:50, and this is the slightly uphill bit around here. So I'm working. I don't know why I'm working this hard, because I'm off my aim. I'm well below my aim of 6-minute kilometres. But here I sort of get caught up, but that gentleman's really polite and lets me through. And I kind of continue round the back of Coate, which is, now many years ago, if you're an older person like myself, Coate didn't have this path all the way around the back, and it was a nightmare to get all the way around it. I did used to do a bit of running in my youth, and there was nothing like this nice, albeit muddy, trail around the back. But yeah, it's a really good place to run, and I can call it a trail run, but most trail runs tend to be hillier than this is. And I think the week after next, I'm going to do a trail run around Lawns Wood in Swindon, which is a bit hillier, and that should give me more of a challenge. It's more like the Lydiard Park one, although probably a bit hillier than Lydiard Park trail that I run as well. So that should be fun in a couple of weeks. Also, I'm planning to do Chippenham Park Run the week after this Saturday coming, which is, again, quite a good park run. Not massively fast, but should be an interesting run to do. So hopefully that'll be it. And then the weekend after that, I'm going to go back and do Swindon Park Run at Lydiard. And that's as far as my planning goes. I'm trying not to plan too far ahead, because I always seem to jinx things if I plan too far ahead and I end up getting injured. I'm, as you can probably hear, starting to blow a little bit. I'm not really struggling, but I am starting to blow a little bit more. One thing that did happen on this run, even though I felt relatively comfortable, as well as not really thinking about my pelvic tilt until my back really started to hurt, I also struggled to get my breathing into a nice routine or pattern. It kind of went in and out of one particular way of breathing. So either just straight deep in, deep out, or sometimes I do a kind of shorter ins and outs and then do one long breath and things like that. Lots of things I try to get into a nice routine that's fitting the effort I'm making, really. But I really struggled to. And sometimes I think it does affect your running. And I think, as you can see, my pace was anyway a little bit slower than it had been. But I do think I kind of push on here a bit and get my pace back up. I have had a little bit of a cold over the last sort of fortnight. I went on holiday to Norway a couple of weeks ago, and I think I had a bit of a cough there. Nothing terrible, but I think I had for a bit of a fortnight. And I think it hasn't, not every time I've gone running. So certainly last Saturday when I did my PB, it wasn't really affecting me overly. But certainly a couple of days I did start to feel the cold a little bit, and I did start to feel that I wasn't doing quite as well, or it wasn't quite as easy as I felt it should be. But here I'm doing 5:35, 5:40, so maybe I'm just pushing harder than I needed to. And we're now running again back to the bird reserve end. I don't know if that's what it's meant to be called, that's why I call it. And over the bridge and then up that hill again, and then a little bit of a plateau, and then down back to the start. So yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't explain how I'm going to be filming. As I said last week, I'm a little self-conscious to take the camera to park runs as of yet. I might in the future, and I don't really want to film every run so far, because I don't know that I've got the time to be doing the editing and things like that. So I'm not looking at filming every training run I do. I may start to film more of the training runs. I might film my interval training. That would be quite interesting to do, I think, once I start doing them. And when I get a bit more confident with using the camera, I might start filming some of the park runs, or at least some of my give it a nudge runs where I'm trying quite hard. I had mixed feelings about taking it last Saturday. Now I kind of wish I had. Now that I did a really good run, I kind of wish I had taken it. But I didn't, and can't turn back time. But yeah, so I think I might start filming more of them, but I do want to kind of do a voiceover, and it takes time to edit them, and I don't want to just put up a run with maybe an overlay with stats and stuff. I want to have some more involvement in it as well. So that's my plan. Again, see, head down when I'm running up a hill. Can't change that. But I do need to kind of get my posture better when I'm running uphill, and I think I'd have less back pain. But yeah, I kind of went a fair bit slower up the hill. I think I was closer to 6 minute K going up the hill last time, and I'm down to 6:30. My heart rate's up to 1:45, which I think is the max for this run. So yeah, for me, I'm working relatively hard. I am coming up to basically what is 5K now. So most of what I'm running after this is extra in the scheme of things. Yeah, I've just ticked over 5K, so I'm kind of really running extra for what my runs normally are from this point on. And I didn't really try to make a big effort at the end of this, and not necessarily because I couldn't. And I tend to like to do a bit of a fast end to my runs, but more because I wanted to get into the habit on these longer runs of not doing that, to set a decent pace and just keeping that pace to the line. It is slightly downhill on quite a nice surface around the front to where I finish, so I think it does kind of increase up naturally. but I didn't really want to kind of wind things up too much. But yeah, this again, the grading, I'm not sure. That's not 6% downhill on that bit we've just run, but I think it takes a while to catch up as well. I think even however well I sync all the data with the video, I still think the grading as you're running around, and the information from your watch basically, not in terms of the software, it takes a while to catch up with what the gradient's actually doing. So yeah, we'll see. Again, I think I said last week I would like to get some better software, but it costs quite a lot of money to get anything decent. This is free software. This is via Edit, which is Garmin software, and I think it's Garmin. Can't remember. I'll post up if I'm right or wrong there. There's some lovely dogs here who are very well behaved. And I was quite jealous of those people's dogs. But yeah, I would like to get some better software so I can sync it more accurately, because at the moment it's quite difficult to sync. I'm also thinking, I'm at the moment I'm wearing the camera on my head, as looks obvious, and I am thinking of changing to a chest mount, because I think that might be easier, and maybe I'd be a little less self-conscious with it on a chest mount. And although it doesn't wobble too much, and certainly the software in the GoPro takes out a lot of the wobble, I think it would wobble even less if it was on my chest. And it would be easier to kind of show my watch to the camera and things like that. But yeah, here I am, coming a little bit to the finish with only one tiny little uphill up here, which I can imagine if you're really tired is a pain to have to run up here. Again, the grade is well out of sync. It's climbing now. But yeah, it's and now I'm back round the front with a bit of a tailwind, and I think my pace does sort of speed up a little bit just because of that tailwind. And I'm already at 5.5k, but I take it and finish it right to the front. I think an extra 100 meters is fine, even with my fairly cautious approach to upping intensity and distance that I have. Right, I feel like I really waffled for half an hour. I did write a few notes to talk about, but I think I talked about them in a completely different order to I planned to. But yeah, so I would say at this point, that's my watch just telling me I've done 5.5k, I think, or 5.6k. I would say thank you very much for watching. Please think about subscribing. I've got no subscribers, so please feel sorry for me and subscribe and like the video, paste comments, tell me what you think about my tip. Offer me some of your own tips, that would be great. And I'm just about to finish when I get to these birds, because I don't fancy walking through them again. So I'm going to hand over to you, much as I did last week, to past me and another out of breath past me any second now. Well, that's a good run. Nothing too tricky. I think I averaged about 5 minutes 51, which is a bit quicker than planned. But as I say, it's a long run, but it's not that much longer really than what I'm doing. So yeah, it was good. Coate Water was a little bit muddier, but it was all good. Anyway, see you next time.